जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन ब्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Hare Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class in ISKCON Seshadripuram temple online. So today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, 25th chapter, verse number 15th and 16th. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I'll just share my screen for the verse. Verse 15th. चेतः खलवस्य बन्धाय मुक्तये चात्मनो मतं गुणेषु सक्तं बन्धाय रतं वा पुंसि मुक्तये. Word to word meanings. Chetah consciousness, khalu instead, asya of him, bandaya for bondage, muktaye for liberation, cha and atmanah of the living entity, matam is considered, guneshu in the three modes of nature, saktam attracted, bandaya for conditioned life, ratam attached, Va or Pumsi in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Muktaye for liberation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: the stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditional life. But when the same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. Purport: there is a distinction here between Krishna consciousness and Maya consciousness. Guneshu or Maya consciousness involves attachment to the three material modes of nature, under which one works sometimes in goodness and knowledge, sometimes in passion, and sometimes in ignorance. These different qualitative activities with the central attachment for material enjoyment are the cause of one's conditional life. When the same Chetaha or consciousness is transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, or when one becomes Krishna conscious, he is on the path of liberation. We will continue with verse 16th also, and then we will proceed with the Bhagavatam class. Aham mamabhimanotte kamalobhadivirmale vitam yada mana shuddham adukham asukham samam. Translation: when one is completely cleansed of the impurities of lust and greed, reduced from the false identification of the body as I and bodily possessions as mine, one's mind becomes purified. In that pure state, he transcends the stage of so-called material happiness and distress. So this is very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada on this verse. Kama and Lobha are the symptoms of material existence. Everyone always desires to possess something. It is said here that desire and greed are the products of false identification of oneself with the body. When one becomes free from this contamination, then his mind and consciousness also becomes free and attain their original state. Mind, consciousness, and the living entity exist. Whenever we speak of the living entity, this includes the mind and consciousness. The difference between conditional life and liberated life occurs when we purify the mind and consciousness. When they are purified, one becomes transcendental to material happiness and distress. In the beginning, Lord Kapila has said that perfect yoga enables one to transcend the platform of material distress and happiness. How this can be done is explained here. One has to purify his mind and consciousness. This can be done by Bhakti Yoga system. As explained in the Narada Panchratra, one's mind and senses should be purified. Tat Partvena Nirmalam. CC Matirila 19.170. One's senses must be engaged in devotional service to the Lord. That is the process. The mind must have some engagement. One cannot make the mind vacant. Of course, there are some foolish attempts to try to make the mind vacant or void, but that is not possible. The only process that will purify the mind is to engage it in Krishna. The mind must be engaged. If we can engage our mind in Krishna, naturally the consciousness becomes fully purified and there is no chance of the entrance of material desire and greed. Om Namo Bhagavat Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णा प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्वसे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So once again, we welcome all the devotees who joined little later for the today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I'm very thankful for giving this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Before going forward, I seek blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas assembled here, by whose prayers I can speak on Lord Krishna's glories and what Srila Prabhupada has written. Especially I seek blessings of His Grace Braj Krishna Prabhu, who is my Shiksha Guru and my teacher, from whom I have learned majority of my teachings in Bhagavatam. So we'll proceed further. So now we already read the translation and purport, but let me just proceed by telling the context of the chapter, what is going on. So in this chapter, just previous to this chapter, Kardam Muni has left home and Devati is alone with Lord Kapila. Now in this chapter, in the beginning, Devati starts telling Lord Kapil Dev to enlighten her in the transcendental knowledge. She starts speaking from verse 7, where she tells that, "Oh dear Lord, I am tired of material sense gratification, of enjoying the senses. It is only a miserable process. So kindly help me to get rid of this misery of material enjoyment." And then from verse 12 or 13, Kapil Dev starts speaking about the supreme yoga system, which will free one from the material distress and happiness, both of this world actually. And then he tells further intricacies of Bhakti Yoga. So today we are on verse number 15, where there are two main themes in this verse which are discussed, is about conditioned life and liberated life. So we can put it in other words also. Are we conditioned or are we Krishnized? So both are completely opposite. Conditional means we are bound. There is bandhan, bondage by material modes, the three modes which Srila Prabhupada is discussing in the purport. Liberated life means one is free, one is beyond these three modes. And now each of them have their own symptoms, what a conditioned soul behaves like, what a liberated souls behave like. But before proceeding forward, I just want to tell one very nice medical proof about consciousness. So one definition of consciousness which I came across is consciousness is a powerful energy permeating the entire body, coming out through every pore of the skin and affects all our activities. So much so that even this consciousness gets stored in the organs of the body. So why are we discussing about consciousness? Because based on this consciousness of the jiva, he can be called conditioned or liberated. So it's all about consciousness or where the mind is focused on. So this is a true story of a husband and wife, and this husband was a devotee, and the wife was upcoming devotee, and husband was already initiated. So he was trying to tell his wife to stop one habit of eating chocolates because she was addicted to eating chocolates. And husband was thinking, what should I do? I should somehow convince her. So he used to tell that chocolate is not good, and um, Prabhupada did not say that we should eat chocolates and all because it has some kind of intoxicating substances present. So the wife was very, very attached. She was not listening. Then one fine day, uh, because of some health issue, this husband was admitted in hospital, and there was a need of kidney transplant. And the doctors found that okay, wife's kidney can be transplanted, and it was done so. And after the husband was retired, discharged, and he came back to home, just imagine what happened. One day night, he went and he knew where chocolates are, and he ate chocolates. Husband was very, very strong on it that one should give up eating chocolates. So next day, he asked the wife that I don't know what happened in the night time. Something, it was very tempting, and I ate chocolates. So then he was wanting to find out that something is really wrong. So then next day he goes to hospital to meet doctor, and he tells that this I would have never done, but after I returned from hospital, I felt to eating chocolates. Can you tell me reason? Then doctor tells, because your wife, he inquired about wife, is she addicted to eating chocolates? Then husband said yes. And then the doctor said this is a medical proof that when the organs get transplanted, the consciousness also of the person gets transferred. It transfers actually for the beginning period of time, at least for some days it takes for a person to again live by his whatever consciousness. So what we understand from this story is how consciousness is so deep rooted. What we have enjoyed. Same way in this material world, we know Srila Prabhupada says there is no time we can say that okay, at this time Jiva came into this world. So from time immemorial, because of being in the material world, there is so much conditioning to enjoy this material world under three modes. And these three modes also influence is spread everywhere. Just recently, day before yesterday, we were returning from temple on Sunday, and it was afternoon 2 o'clock. And outside PS college, it was full. It was like display of illusory energy only. So much it was road was jammed because all the college students were outside the college because that day evening some two three so-called stars who are singers and comedians, and they were about to come for one festival called Atmatrisham. Atmatrisham ideally means thirst for the soul, but in this festival they actually enjoy fully in the mode of passion and ignorance, and they feel that is real enjoyment. So now for the conditioned soul, he will think that this is enjoyment because in passion and ignorance he himself is situated. But if a liberated soul comes there or an advanced devotee, he will simply not get attracted because his consciousness is in not bound by these three modes. He's beyond that. He's either in goodness or in transcendental goodness. So he will not get attracted to such activities, which everyone else is attracted. So it is said that personal ambition is most of the times a stronger motivating force than serving Krishna. So because the material consciousness is so much deep rooted that even though we are in devotional service, the same tendency to enjoy continues, even though we are serving Krishna. What will give me if I serve? Will I get name fame, or will I get some appreciation or something control? All these things are very, very deep rooted because they are deep rooted within the consciousness. So now liberated life means life free of conditionings. So generally, because in this world there is so much influence of ignorance, so a normal person, if we talk about liberation, he will simply not understand. For him, the life is meant for enjoyment. So for him, it is very difficult to understand that there is birth, old age, disease, and death, and This is the conditioning he is put into life after life, but a liberated soul can see it. So liberation means to understand this, that or when we advance on the path of spiritual knowledge, we start understanding that actually I'm bound by this real balance of life: birth, old age, disease, and death, and I should not waste my human form of life again, being conditioned by the modes, and spending life like this without attaining the perfection of life, which is attaining love for Krishna. So that's the basic difference between human and animal also. Human being can know, okay, I'm conditioned, or I have been conditionings put upon, and the scriptures are telling this. But animal, he cannot just know what is liberation. For him, all what matters is enjoyment. So here in the verse, if we see, the two terms are, these three terms are guneshu saktam bandhaya, that how we are so much bound by these three modes, attracted by the three modes of material nature, and bound very strongly by that. And another line, the last line of the 15th verse is Ratam va pumsi muktaye. But when the consciousness is Krishnized, then it is liberation. So exact meaning I'll read again. Ratam va pumsi muktaye. So pumsi here is referring to the supreme personality of Godhead. So again, Srila Prabhupada brings out that how Lord Krishna is a supreme person. Impersonalists may say that okay, he is impersonal. But Prabhupada writes the meaning is Pumsi means in the supreme personality of Godhead, Purusha, like in that similar lines. So Ratam va Pumsi Muktaye. But if we develop Rati, attachment to Supreme Lord, then Muktaye, then we will attain liberation. So the whole Bhakti Yoga, or the process Srila Prabhupada has given us, is to develop attachment to Krishna. And we will see in the further our discussion that what are the practical steps. If I take care of those things, then my attachment to Krishna will gradually increase. So let us come back to the discussion about these three modes, because Prabhupada has written in the purport that how under passion, ignorance, and goodness, the central idea is material enjoyment. So even the material world means three qualities. Tribir Gurmai Bhave, like Prabhupada many times quotes this, that whole material world is connected by these three modes. Even in the goodness also, someone may say, okay, passion and ignorance, I understand. In ignorance there is nidra, alasa, pramad, and one is confused, one is depressed. It's very ignorant kind of lifestyle. But in the passion, one has great sangha and Krishna, great hankering and great thirst for material enjoyment, want to become famous, want to show to the world, and want to impress opposite sex, like this. But okay, goodness seems to be a better option. But even in goodness also, one gets complacent. That is the biggest problem actually. So complacency comes that yeah, life seems to be okay, my mind is under my control, I'm feeling peace of mind. But that's not the ultimate actually. Prabhupada always used to say that goodness should be used as a platform to take off, to go to pure goodness. And it is very nicely explained in an example that uh, when we go for the airport, unless we go to airport, we cannot take the flight. So going to airport is like, in goodness. So that way we can understand. Now, especially when we talk about lower modes, passion and ignorance, then Srimad Bhagavatam tells in 12th canto that how there are so many faults in this age, in Kali Yuga, especially in Kali Yuga. So different terms are said that how people, because of deeply influenced by passion and ignorance, there will be all these problems like anavrishti. There will be no rainfall because people will not follow religion. They'll be simply, going towards the sense gratification more and more. There will be durbhiksha, no food grain production. And we can see in the past how in several places drought and all these things have come, and people have greatly been pained and suffered because of that. Then kara piditaha, people will be harassed by government taxes, uh, and we can very well see that the tax system is like simply for looting people unless the good government is there. So people really feel painful, and that's why so much government is to follow up to give tax also. And Dasyu Dharmavi, government will be like this thing, gang of rocks and thieves. That's what is the symptoms of Kali Yuga. People will keep long hairs to look beautiful, and we can see when Srila Prabhupada went to hippies, all of them used to think that they will look very beautiful by keeping long hairs. So this is very common symptom in Kali Yuga. Then Brahmana means having two paisa birth rate. That's what will be the tag of a Brahmana. That just wear a two paisa thread and you will be Brahmana. Like this people think. So we understand that Kali Yuga is very very polluted, contaminated. It's an ocean of faults, dull age. So now how do we rise ourselves, staying in such such influence where there is influence of these three modes so much prevalent in the society? Because Prabhupada is talking about liberated life means consciousness is attracted to Krishna. One is attracted to Krishna. So for that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us very simple process of Sankirtan Yajna. That in Kali Yuga, you cannot do anything. Even if you want to do sacrifices, we need pure brahmanas. We need proper ingredients, pure ghee, and many such things. But it is not possible because in Kali Yuga we will not find even pure brahmanas. Really, there are pure brahmanas. So the only recommended process for Kali Yuga is Sankirtana Yajna. And this verse comes, Yajanti hi sumedasaham. One who is very intelligent, he will understand about this. That Kali Yuga is very dangerous age. If I don't take shelter of holy name, then there is no way to purify heart very easily. And Srila Prabhupada used to say that if you don't perfect your life, then because of material desires, you will go to heaven, and there life span is, the time dimension is completely different. And by the time you come back, 10,000 years of this golden age of where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement will be spreading far and wide, it will be over. So we will lose simply that mercy. So for us, very simple step is if we can take benefit of this Sankirtan Yajna, which will cleanse all the dust accumulated in the heart, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, then it will be very, very easy to get attached to Krishna more and more. We have to put ourselves in the fire of Sankirtan. So also, Srila Prabhupada, if we see his mood, like he was convinced that in Kali Yuga, so much people are conditioned to enjoy. And even in the America, in the Western world, it was more than expected also. So Prabhupada had full faith that if they chant holy names, if they take shelter of Sankirtan process, Sankirtan Yajna, they will be purified. And that's what Srila Prabhupada did. He went at such an advanced age to give them the faith in holy name, to tell them that actually this is the process for Kali Yuga. And Srila Prabhupada wanted all the followers that we take part in Sankirtan process more and more, and we actually spread Sankirtan movement far and wide. So devotees do in different ways. Some do youth preaching, congregation preaching, children preaching, and everything is going on. So because Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much about Sankirtan movement. Now, so one is doing Sankirtan movement. Other than that is because the whole verse was talking about that based on consciousness, one gets conditioned or liberated based on what consciousness he is using. So knowing this, if we can try, we can try to do all our services in the consciousness that what is my identity? My identity is Jivera Surupoi Krishna Nityadas. That is my identity. To that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. So then and knowing that I'm not enjoyer, I'm enjoyed. Like I'm not Purusha. Pumsi. Krishna is saying the supreme personality of Godhead, Pumsi, which is supreme Lord. So uh, we have our position is not to enjoy in this world, but to give enjoyment to senses of Krishna. This dress, which might look like okay, I'm a man, I'm a woman, it is simply an external covering which is illusion. And another verse in Bhagavad Gita comes, Aparyam mitastu mam prakriti vidhi me param. That we are actually prakriti. But because we are trying to be Purusha, that's why we are in a miserable state. We are suffering. So even though one may enjoy in this world externally through senses, but ultimately it leads to suffering because it is not the position of living entity to enjoy. Otherwise, if we try to enjoy, then because of the influence of modes, we will commit sinful activities and we keep getting one body after another. Tatha dehantara prapti, we will keep getting one body after another. So if we can simply change our consciousness from enjoyment to service attitude, from bhoga vritti to seva vritti, that I am servant of Krishna. So let me do whatever services I get in full consciousness of Krishna. In my lecture, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj tells that after millions of lifetimes of pious activities, today I'm getting to cut this one potato in the kitchen of Srimati Radharani. So like this, if devotee is very conscious, if we are very conscious in our services, then attachment for Krishna will also awaken because Krishna as Super Soul is seeing all our intentions with what consciousness we are doing services. Even in one lecture, I was hearing that how the beautiful description of Vaikuntha and about Lakshmi, so many Sahasra Lakshmi, how so many crores of Lakshmis they are serving Lord Vishnu, and how beautifully dressed and having all opulences. But she is doing the menial service of brooming the floor, just so that to please Supreme Lord as a menial humble servant. So that's what devotee strives for, to improve his consciousness in the service. So little done, Lord one. Even we may not do so much oceanic services, but whatever we do in full service attitude. That it's not ordinary that I'm getting, to stay with devotees, to render service to Supreme Lord. Even the simple offering bhoga, like it's a very spiritual service. Generally, elevated pujaris do. But when we stay in our centers, we get to offer bhoga to Supreme Lord through Guru Parampara. So how fortunate, there are so many fortunate situations every day we or fortunate opportunities every day we are blessed with. We get to broom temple hall of the Lord. If we stay in temple, that's a nice opportunity. So this is about consciousness. Now, one more nice pastime is how Lord is very, very personal. Like we are talking about developing attachment to Lord. But if Lord is very magnetic personality, it will be very easy. So one pastime of Madhvendra Puri, when he was there and the Lord, we know this famous pastime of Lord stealing kheer for Madhvendra Puri. So now all of us know the pastime that Lord kept one pot behind and the pujari came searching, where is Madhvendra Puri? Where is Madhvendra Puri? And then Lord has stolen pot for you. You are so fortunate. And he became so famous. But other way, Lord could have done simply this way, that he would have inspired Pujari, and Pujari would have come out and distributed everyone kheer, and Madhvendra Puri also would have got, because the goal was Madhvendra Puri wanted to taste. So instead of inspiring Pujari to give kheer to all, Lord took that step where personally he stole the kheer for for his devotee and made the devotee so famous. So this is how Lord is so personal. So knowing these attributes of Lord, how he does so many pastimes in Vrindavan, he is actually simply by fruits, taking some fruits, he is converting the whole basket of fruit bundle lady into gold, diamonds, and ornaments. How much he is so such a attractive and wonderful personality. So much he is ready to reciprocate. So knowing this, if we can consciously do services for pleasure of Krishna, then we can slowly this modes influence of modes will reduce, and we will go more closer to Krishna. And now coming before going to second verse theme, there is a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu. Here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Nityanand Prabhu, because Nityanand Prabhu wanted to remain in Jagannath Puri, and that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells, dear Lord, he tells Nityanand Prabhu that you please go to Bengal and preach. The reason we both descended is to deliver 4 types of people. And recently, in last 2-3 months, I heard more than 20-30 times from His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj this thing, that 4 types of people for whom Lord came to deliver were, one was Murkha, which is foolish, lowborn, fallen, and distressed. So then, if we feel that I am in any of these categories, then immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is ready to give us mercy. That's why Sankirtan process is so much highlighted, because Lord Himself is telling, if if one is in one of these categories, I will give him mercy. So that's why the Sankirtan process is very, very helpful. Now the second verse is talking about the conception of I and mine, the false ego. So which is very, very again deep rooted in the soul. So false ego means simply that I want to be center. And I don't want to be a humble instrument. In any service we do, if false ego is there, means I think I have done it, I should deserve appreciation of it. That kind of consciousness is there. That consciousness that I am servant of Krishna, it is missing. And I'm this body, and all these bodily positions are mine. That is the predominating consciousness in the person who is having false ego. And this false ego is like this, that it's very difficult to identify or detect in ourselves, because it is very, very subtle. It is beyond my intelligence also. So only those who are advanced Vaishnavas, those who are guiding us, when we go and approach them and ask submissively, humbly, that how can I improve, then they may tell that you have to improve in this factor, because we may have a lot of false pride in even in doing services. So more we give a false pride, more we will feel very relieved. that free from anxieties. So one very nice verse is there from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll just share about false ego. Means 10th canto, 25th chapter, verse 17th. Here Srila Prabhupada writes this particular thing. If someone would like to read, they can kindly read this paragraph. Maybe anyone.
Mana or false prestige is certainly an anxiety ridden burden for the conditioned soul. A falsely poor person is not truly peaceful or satisfied because his understanding of himself is false and inflated. When a servant of the Lord becomes asat or irreligious, the Lord saves him from impiety by breaking the false prestige that has led him to be offensive or sinful. As stated by Lord himself, Yasyaham anugrahanami harishya taddanam shanai. I'll give blessings to a person by taking away his so-called opulence.
Yes. So here Prabhupada is writing that it is very anxiety-ridden business actually for the conditioned soul. He cannot be peaceful or satisfied because his understanding of himself is false and inflated. So that's why even though we may do many times a lot of services, but if there is that kind of satisfaction of serving Krishna is not there, then maybe that our services may be in mood of doership or controllership. So one very nice understanding which I recently learned from fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita is that this doership, which is again is because of false ego, this doership leads to enjoying in this world also. So I was hearing that when we do something and think that I have done it, because of me this service got done, so then we identify with our senses that I did it. Now because we are identifying with I, that I am the body, then when we are in this world interacting with sense objects, and when any sense object comes in front, then that same mentality that I am this body, I can enjoy will come, and then it will lead to sense enjoyment. So this is how it is even connected. So doing anything in false ego in terms of doership and controllership, it will again lead to more and more bondage in this world, because the conception that I am this body gets more and more deep rooted, and because of that we enjoy more in this world and we get stuck here. So if we see in the as example of as Srila Prabhupada gives, he is ready to work so hard just for the grass. That grass is available whole field. If he goes, he can find it easily. But he thinks he does not have that intelligence, and he's ready to carry so much heavy burden for the master. And at the end, master gives him little grass. Okay, this you can take. So that same as-like mentality, Srila Prabhupada explains that many we will find in the world, living in the world, when we are working in corporate companies or when we go to traffic signals, we can see people working so hard, especially if you go to metro in the Delhi, Mumbai, it's so horrible. They travel 2 3 hours, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the night, 10 to 12 hours working simply for the same chapati, which anyway they will get it because Krishna has arranged for everyone. If they do little endeavor, they will get it. But they do over endeavor and simply spoil the purpose of human form of life because of this mentality that they are mine. I have to maintain them. I am the maintainer. That kind of false ego that is very deep rooted. So we have to dissolve this false ego eventually by understanding what is the danger of it. And it can be done in various practical ways. When anyone gives credit, we can simply say, bro, I did not do it. It's simply by the blessings I did and whatever, superior blessings and they have taught me. And uh, yeah, one nice story Srila Prabhupada tells is about hotel man in Calcutta, I think. He was actually cutting the small chickens, and when he was cutting, the chickens were half dead and they were flapping on the table, and he was taking a great joy in that actually. And the small child of this hotel man, when he saw, he was actually crying that he is suffering, but this man was not able to identify because Nunam Pramatah Kurute Vikarma, simply for sense gratification, is ready to give trouble to others and is working so hard also. So means the mad people, those who are afflicted with this avidya, what they do, they will take pleasure in doing something sinful, more and more sinful things. They don't understand that this body is suffering and temporary, that it will bring about reaction to me. So they even don't have this understanding that this body is kleshina, it will give me trouble again. And why they are ready to do all the sinful acts or work very hard, because the false designation again, that I am responsible for this society, country, nation, they will bring all these things, and they simply commit all the sinful activities. But now Srila Prabhupada gives the solution for this, how to come out of this false ego. And even apart from false ego, Prabhupada talks about lust and greed. That how the heart is filled with these impurities of lust and greed, and how this lust and greed are produced from false identification of the body, considering that I and mine. So it brings about all material happiness and distress also when we act in this way. So now cleaning the impurities of lust and greed, it's like, not that we take some dishwash powder and clean it. It is in the deep rooted in the subtle body and in the mind. So only process again to clean is, scriptures recommend very nicely, is one is chanting holy names, which we obviously know, and also about hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know this famous verse, Shrotam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Vedantastohiya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suratsatam. Krishna says that if you take pleasure in hearing my messages, then I will cleanse the dust which is accumulated in your heart, and person will become more and more pious. Krishna himself cleanses the dirt which is accumulated. So this lust and greed is like impurities only in the heart. So Krishna can clean it very nicely if we take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. The process of sound vibration, which is very, very powerful. And even someone may say, oh, I'm a grihastha, I don't have time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this sthane sthita gata shruti gatam tanovan manovi. Wherever you are, you can simply hear Srimad Bhagavatam. There is nothing you have to travel far distance. Nowadays, because of technology, it is all the more simple. We have our smartphones or whatever devices. From wherever we are, we can actually tune into the Vani of a spiritual master in Srila Prabhupada. We can have Srimad Bhagavatam with us in the form of so many printed books are there. We can carry them, or if it is difficult, we can have soft copy version and we can read them anytime and anywhere. So that is the process recommended. But now how this hearing should be done? Someone may say that I have been hearing from long time, but I see so much impurities are there in my heart. So today morning in Japa talk, I was hearing from His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. He was telling that uh, one has to hear Bhagavatam with these two conditions. One is he should hear with rapt attention, with eagerness. I'm getting to hear today Srimad Bhagavatam, the same transcendental sound vibration which was spoken by Lord to Brahma, then Shukdev Goswami spoke to Parishit. I'm getting to hear that, how fortunate I am. And Srila Prabhupada purports are there. So it's my great, great fortune. So with very great eagerness, every day we go and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That is first qualification. Second is we have to hear for prolonged time. Not that, okay, I heard for 1 week and I will miss all my impurities in the heart will go away. We have to hear repeatedly and prolonged time. And again, in one of the verses, Srila Prabhupada writes in first canto that only one who is pure in eating, sleeping, waiting, defending, he can be pure in mind, actions, and like this it goes on. So if we cultivate this lifestyle, at least in the mode of goodness, to come to transcendental goodness, that we keep our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending very, very simple in the mode of goodness, then we will have rapt attention hearing the messages of Bhagavatam. So eating means we eat what is required to keep the body and soul together. Sleeping means whatever, again, to keep the body and soul together. And oversleeping definition I was hearing, oversleeping means how we can control oversleeping. Suppose someone says, so oversleeping can be controlled when we direct our eating in the mode of goodness, then automatically sleep also will be controlled. So we should, if we control our eating, sleeping also will be in control. Then mating, as Srila Prabhupada tells, that sex life only for procreation, not for other ways. Defending, knowing that actually Krishna is protecting me. Krishna is in control. I have very tiny control. So having that faith in Krishna. So like this, if we are living, then we will see it will be easier to absorb in message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So human life is actually meant to understand this, scriptures. So if we don't take shelter of this process of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, then means we are missing something very great actually. One story comes. Now before this story, I want to tell that when we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it should be heard from right authorized sources, not from anyone and everyone. Because so many in YouTube, if we just go, so many speakers are there, like speaking 10th canto and many things. And I remember when I was in Rajasthan, my mother was very fond of attending every Bhagavad Saptah. She don't used to even think who is the speaker. Board is there, Bhagavad Saptah, she used to go and attend. And like this, she used to take me also. So But after reading Prabhupada books, we understood that it is very dangerous to hear. So a story comes, I heard this story about one heavenly elephant. So this elephant entered once in the garden and he was roaming around. And the Jamindar or the person there who is in charge of the land, he caught him and he told, I will actually give you punishment or I will kill you. You are actually, he tried to catch that elephant that why are you trampling my garden? Then the elephant says, actually, you cannot do anything to me. I'm a heavenly elephant. You will not be able to cause any harm to me. I don't belong only here. And then he started describing about heaven. And then this man got attracted. He said, can you please take me to this heavenly planet? Elephant says, okay, I can take you. You just come with me. And like this. So this Jamindar got, my God, he is so liberal. He is ready to take us to heaven. So he invited other family members. They joined. They invited others. Like this, 500 people, were there to come. And elephant says, okay, you catch each other and I will fly. And you should not leave and keep going. I'll go like this and we will reach heaven. So then elephant started flying, flying, flying. So somewhere in the middle, down, one person asked above that where are we going? That he says, I don't know how will it take. He will say, oh, this elephant is heavenly elephant is very very big. Really? How big is he? Then then he wanted to open his hand and say, how much big. So this person was in the middle somewhere. He opened his hand. Is it this much big? This much big? And by the time he was doing, everyone below fell actually because of speculation. So same way when we hear Bhagavatam from others, that is like speculation, So that's not the process which Srila Prabhupada recommended. Now some very very important verses which Srimad Bhagavatam glorifies about Bhagavatam. I'll just share them. Uh, this is very famous verse, all of us from 11th canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 30. परस्परानुकथनं पावनं भगवत यशः मिथोरतिर्मिथस्तुष्टिर्निवृत्तिर्मिथ आत्मनः. Someone would like to read translation? Very, very, very special translation.
One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying, as devotees thus develop their loving friendship. They feel mutual happiness and satisfaction, and by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering.
Yes. So devotees, when they come together, they just take shelter of Bhagavatam and chant glories of the Lord. And in this way, in that loving friendship, discussing Bhagavatam together, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. So here Prabhupada writes, thus they encourage one another to give up material sense gratification, which is based on illicit sexual relationships with women. One devotee will say to another, oh, you have given up sense gratification, starting today, I shall also give it up. So like this, it inspires each other. So very nice purport we can read in our free time, but we are running short of time. So we'll go to one more important verse from 2nd canto, 8th chapter, verse number 4 and 5. Shranvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granatasya Swacheshtitam Kalena Natidirgena Bhagavan Vishate Hriday. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, manifested in their hearts within a short time. Kalena na atidhirgena. Not very long. Within a short time, Lord will manifest. But what they have to do? They have to hear regularly and take the matter very seriously. These two things we have to do. So it means when we are reading Bhagavatam, we have to internalize the meaning. There are 5 stages of realizing the knowledge: paroksha, paroksha, adoksha, all these things. But in a very simpler way, when we read something, we have to do contemplation. Shravanam, then mananam, and then nididhyasanam. Means we have to contemplate, okay, how is this message relevant to me? How is this message relevant to society? So personal application, preaching application, like this you can see. And then nididhyasanam, we actually digest it nicely and then share our realizations and speak to others. So it means taking the matter very seriously, not just hearing from this ear and removing from that ear. That is not the process which here is being recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, this is also very nice purport, but we will read next one. Pravishta Ganarandrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Sarilasya Yathashirat. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material associations such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. So, this is what we read in the 16th translation, that this lust, greed, all these impurities in the heart are there. How to cleanse? Here again, there is a solution. We have to simply hear the sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, in the association of advanced devotees. Then it becomes very, very powerful. So, mm, okay, now again one more theme comes in Bhagavatam, how to develop this taste for hearing. Now we understood, okay, if I have to get rid of these impurities, I need to hear Bhagavatam. So in second canto, 7th chapter, this word comes. I'm forgetting the verse, but the translation is, by serving the great souls, we can develop this taste in the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So those who are very, very advanced devotees, when we serve them, we also get this taste. It's very logical. Suppose you please a very big person in this world, uh, Yasyan Mahat Seva Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishivanath. So that verse is there. One devotee helped me. So like in companies, when we work, when we please the manager or boss, what they do, they give a big bonus at the end, okay, we are pleased with you, something like this, or they may give promotion. But if we please pure devotees, advanced devotees, what they do, they bless us with bhakti shakti. They give us the blessings by which we develop taste for Bhagavatam, taste for chanting, like this. So now to develop this eagerness for here, we need to serve the devotees. And it's so rare to serve devotees. I was hearing from 3rd canto 29th chapter that there are gradations of living entities described. One is dry grass, then there is grass, plants, then there is a two-legged animal, four-legged animal, and in this, with different development of taste or sense perceptions, then finally comes, human beings in that civilized, uncivilized, then civilized Aryans, and then after that comes people who are following the varnashram system. Then in that comes someone who is a brahmana. Then comes that someone who understands the message, who understands the who follows the Vedic principles. Then someone who understands about the import of the Vedas, and someone then who can just convince others, who is a Vaishnava, who can convince others simply about the goal of life. So like this, if we go in the gradation, it's a big cycle. But we are so fortunate to be with so many such great souls who have so many realizations. So if we simply serve them, it's a rare opportunity. We get to see them take dust from the lotus feet, three Mahabal, like taking the dust from the lotus feet, taking the water which has washed their feet, and taking the Mahaprasad, which is remnants, and also hearing their instructions very seriously. So this way, Bhagavatam tells it's a complete process to get rid of all of these things. And Srila Prabhupada established so many centers so that people get chance to hear. So we also try to, like ISKCON Seshadripuram is trying so many bhakti sadhans. Why? So that wherever people are in the Bangalore, they can come together and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So this was the mission of Prabhupada. Let us establish more and more centers. Let us educate people and make more brahmanas who can explain the teachings of Bhagavatam more precisely. And that's why so many devotees are taking Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, so that they can become nice preachers and preach Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will just conclude now in 1-2 minutes, then we will have question answers. We started verse 15th with the conditional life versus liberated life, and we learned about consciousness, how this consciousness is so deep rooted, the tendency to material enjoyment is there, and how we can we learned little bit about three modes and the defaults of Kali Yuga, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, and then the process which is recommended for us is Sankirtan Yajna. And also then we went further and saw about false ego, which is the basis because of which all the impurities in the heart are there, like lust and greed. We discussed how we can give up this false ego by consciously trying to come out of it, by serving consciously, and also by the process of hearing Bhagavatam. And how do we develop taste for hearing Bhagavatam? By serving great souls. So like this is a very, very simple process Bhagavatam is telling. So I will pause it here, and I seek forgiveness if I spoke something here and there which was not palatable, and devotees can please help me in correcting, in improving in future. Thank you very much. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. If any questions are there, we can some questions.
प्रभु हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
सबसे पहले मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, इतना अच्छा क्लास आपने लिया, बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ आपने सब कुछ बताया। प्रभु एक चीज क्लियर करना था कि आपने भक्ति योग के बारे में, भक्ति की महिमा के बारे में बताया, और नग और संकीर्तन योग के बारे में बताया कि इससे ही हमारा लक्ष्य की प्राप्ति हो सकती है और कोई रास्ता नहीं है। तो फिर हम जो है, जब हमारा लक्ष्य भक्ति योग से प्राप्त हो सकती है, तो फिर हम यज्ञ क्यों करें, यज्ञ क्यों करते हैं? हम इस्कॉन में देखते हैं कभी कभी स्पेशल टाइम पर हम यज्ञ ना करते हैं, जबकि ऐसा बताया गया कि यज्ञ हम कर नहीं सकते, मंत्र ठीक से पढ़ नहीं सकते, द्रव्य शुद्ध नहीं मिल सकता, बहुत सारे नियम है उसमें, फिर भी हम करते हैं। तो ऐसा क्या जरूरत है करने की?
सबसे पहले जो भी मैं बोला उसका पूरा श्रेय गुरु परंपरा और मेरे सुपीरियर्स को जाता है जिन्होंने मुझे पढ़ाया है। रिगार्डिंग आपके क्वेश्चन के बारे में प्रभु जी, मैंने ये सुना है, अगर हम बहुत फेमस पास्ट टाइम शिला प्रभुपाद का, जब कृष्ण बलराम डीटी स्थापित हो रहे थे वृंदावन में, तो उस टाइम यज्ञ भी हो रहा था। शिला प्रभुपाद बोले कि क्योंकि सोसाइटी ऐसे देखती है कि यज्ञ नहीं करोगे तो मतलब बोनाफाइड नहीं है, क्योंकि वो वैदिक प्रोसेस है, तो यज्ञ भी चल रहा था, लेकिन पीछे सब लोग भक्त संकीर्तन कर रहे थे, जोर जोर से एकदम नाच रहे थे, संकीर्तन कर रहे थे। तो शिला प्रभुपाद ने बोला कि एक्चुअल इंस्टॉलेशन ऑफ डीटी वाज हैपनिंग व्हेन डिवोटीज आर डूइंग संकीर्तन, मतलब जब भक्त लोग साथ में मिलकर संकीर्तन कर रहे थे तो असल में भगवान आए। तो एक तो ये पास टाइम है, उसके अलावा कुछ स्पेशल अगर ओकेजन से लाइक नरसिम्हा चतुर्दशी, सो डिवोटीज यज्ञ करते हैं बिकॉज दैट डे लॉर्ड इज वेरी मर्सीफुल एंड टू गिव ब्लेसिंग्स, एंड इट इज फ्रॉम स्क्रिप्चर्स। जैसे वैष्णव स्क्रिप्चर से अगर है तो डिवोटीज यज्ञ करते हैं, बट जो कर्मकांडा सैक्रिफाइसेस है वो डिवोटीज लोग नहीं करते हैं एक्चुअली। तो आइडियली संकीर्तन प्रोसेस इज सफिशिएंट, बट सम स्पेशल ओकेजन्स में डिवोटीज यज्ञ करते हैं, बट हमारा मेन प्रोसेस है संकीर्तन यज्ञ करना। वही मुझे पता, संकीर्तन यज्ञ और deity worship, we worship deities also. So even deity worship भी संकीर्तन के बिना अधूरी मानी जाती है, एटलीस्ट इन कलयुग। तो जहाँ पे भी deity worship हो रही होती है, प्रभुपाद हमेशा he started हरे कृष्ण कीर्तन, that culture.
Okay bro, thank you.
Thank you. Vijay Prabhu has raised hand. Yes Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you, bro, for Paraspara Anukatana. You're helping me. So I wanted to ask a question, bro. Initially, you said a story that when that kidney was transferred to that Mataji, to the Prabhu, that Prabhuji also felt to eat like chocolates.
He ate actually.
He ate. So this is so dangerous, that when kidney plantation, I mean, when this happens, it affects. Now, another thing, if we see on the positive side, Prabhu, it also is helpful if somebody who is Krishna consciousness can donate their organs to the outside people so that they can become Krishna conscious. I mean, this is one way of preaching. If we can, help in blood donation, in donating our eyes, our organs at the end of the body to some hospitals when they get transplanted to the people. Actually, we also bring reputation to ISKCON, and also we help spiritually also to people taking to Krishna conscious in some way or the other, than thinking negatively that karma will come, that will come, this will come.
Yeah, very nice question, very intellectual question. I wanted to clarify there only. So what had happened for 15-20 days, that kind of consciousness predominated the person, the man or the Prabhu, but after that he was actually living by his own consciousness. Means doctors told only in the beginning days it is like a momentum which again it becomes zero, so something like this. So it does not make sense, that okay, although if a devotee is in need, we always do that, but for the karmis, what I have heard is if we donate blood and he uses for sense gratification and does all regulative principles he breaks, then we get the karma. So generally it is, I have not heard devotees being so open and going out and giving blood and kidneys unless some devotee is in need. And we know the pastimes, right, of one famous pastime, I forgot the name of that famous Prabhupada disciple sannyasi, how when he was in need, so many 50 donors came actually to give him the particular organ which was needed. I hope I answered. Sham Sundar Prabhu.
Prabhu, so I did not understood that what you call. So should we do or not, Prabhu? You're telling karma comes to us when we donate. Better not to donate. That's what you said.
Your point was because a devotee may be Krishna conscious. If we transfer organ, the other person, non-devotee, will become Krishna conscious. So I was saying that's not true. Doctor told only in the beginning few days that consciousness one can feel, that same kind of consciousness what the donor had, other person can feel, but it's not eternal, it's not permanent like that. So then, if even if a devotee's organ is transplanted, that person may be little devotional, but it, again his old old vasanas and everything will act only. So it may
You
not.
see, bro, that person ate the chocolate. It's not he felt to eat the chocolate. You understanding? If that's the scientific result is very true that the person has eaten the chocolate after the organ has come from Mataji, this person, even if it tell, I can tell it is Abbas, in the sense it's same like Ajamila, where he may know or may not know the whole situation, but he gets some inclination to Krishna consciousness, which may be a very big major achievement in his Krishna consciousness to come closer to Krishna.
So means we need to now see more research. I heard this from in one lecture from Devki Mataji. She was giving seminar on false ego. So she was telling this real incident. We can ask further and we can see more scientific research. But in one way, if you see, devotees actually, one devotee nicely was is put that when the devotees are burning their bodies in the fire of Sankirtan, it's actually they are giving to others, means, in one way, organ transplant means what? Okay, you make other person Krishna conscious because of your organ. So the devotees are so much engaged in the process of Sankirtan, and like Radheshyam, if you see how much he has actually taken that this preaching mission so dear to his heart that he does not care for his body. We have heard in the beginning years how he had hardly slept. He used to return very late, attend everyday morning program. So burning the body to give to others. So that is like that only. But regarding your specific question, we need to see some more research about.
Yes, thank you, bro. Thank you. Because there were some devotees who were talking we should have blood donation camp in ISKCON. That's why I just asked.
Rajkrishna Prasad may be able to answer more better this question. Yeah. So it is almost time. Maybe one question, otherwise we can conclude the class.
Can we stop the live stream? Today nobody is ISKCON Seshadripuram. Can you stop the live stream, probably?